Hey guys, it's Just Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. Stick around to hear my spoiler-free book review of The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. Alright guys, so before we jump into the review, something really important to note is that there's two different editions to this book. So this book was originally indie published. I have not read that edition. I actually listened to the audio version of the newest published edition, and apparently there were some big changes as far as character backstories and the way information is presented to us. So just know that going in, this is a review for the newest edition of the Atlas 6. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Goodreads and Instagram, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the Atlas 6. Alright guys, so jumping into the plot of the Atlas 6 is following the Alexandrian Society. So what if the Library of Alexandria never actually burned down, but was instead being guarded by these magical academics? And the way these people are chosen is every 10 years, 6 people that are very proficient in certain magics, you have empaths, telepaths, people that can manipulate physics, are chosen, and out of the 6, 5 will be selected as caretakers of the Library of Alexandria. So in the very beginning of the story, Atlas, who is the current caretaker of the library, tries to talk these 6 people into coming to kind of compete against each other in order to become the caretaker. So we're really just following these 6 students. Now, these 6 students, like I said, have always been the best in their class for their certain abilities, so it's very interesting to see what happens when they're all put into Fork's proximity and have to kind of compete against each other. This is a very character-driven story. You're really just following the minds of these 6 different points of views, and I absolutely loved it. Alright, so moving on to characters, I feel like the characters were actually the highlight of this book for me. The characters were so well developed. I both hated and loved every single character. They are all very pompous, very pretentious, but it's because they are the best in their magical field. And also you get their backstories for every single character, and then you're like, oh, this is why you are the way you are. And somehow Olivia Blake also made it that I want all of the characters to date each other, but also stay clear of each other. And I really also enjoyed the fact that these characters are supposed to be like post-grad. So they're all in their late 20s. I feel like Dark Academia, we either get high school or we get college. And I like having more adult characters. I just feel like some of their actions made sense as adults. I feel like sometimes when I'm reading about characters that are in high school or in college, they kind of act a little bit immature. I didn't feel that way with this book. And overall, I just loved all of the characters. Alright, so moving on to magic system and world building, I will say this is a Dark Academia novel. It definitely had that gothic feel to it that I really loved. I wish I read this in the fall or in October because it just really has those vibes. Now, the magic system, I was obsessed with. So it kind of reminded me of Mistborn for a little bit as far as like the battle scenes. I could really visualize exactly like what was happening when the physicists were manipulating like space and time around them in order to create shields. I thought that was so cool. Now, I don't know anything about physics, so the explanations might not actually make any sense, but I was completely ignorant of that. So just know going in, if you are really into science, you might absolutely hate this. But for me, I really, really loved it. All right, so moving into writing style and pacing, as far as pacing goes, I think that it is very slow paced. There were some parts that I really had to like slog through, but overall, I did finish this book in 2 days, so I really enjoyed it. It is a 6 POV book. Now, I typically don't like that many POVs. I feel like there's always a few characters in multiple POV stories that I'm like, oh, I don't feel like reading from his perspective. However, that did not happen. All of these characters are so drastically different that I loved any time we switch characters. I heard that the original indie did have a little bit more issues regards to editing and that some things didn't feel quite as linear as they should. For me, I didn't notice that with this edition. However, once again, I haven't read the indie edition yet. But overall, I thought the writing was really beautiful. It's a little bit more flowery than what I typically read and very, very science-based. But overall, I very much enjoyed it. Alright, so my overall thoughts regarding this book. So the thing is, my expectations going into this book were drastically different than the book I actually read. I feel like on TikTok, this book is being hyped as being a very witchy, spicy, Dark Academia book. And while there are witches that are actually called Magians in the book, it's not spicy and it's not super witchy. I think there's only 2 like real spicy scenes, and that's really just because one of the characters uses her sexuality in order to like manipulate people and gain information from them. It's not actually like for romance. So I think TikTok and all the hype kind of marketed it as something that it's not. Unless the indie version had more of that. Once again, I haven't read the indie version, so I don't know. But overall, I loved this. I loved learning everything through the different characters' perspectives. I thought the magic was so interesting, even though I didn't understand 90% of it. And I think it's a story that if you really like fantasy and you like dark academia, you should definitely check out. Alright guys, that's it for my review of The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read this book, what you thought of it. I said this already, but I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.